Hello, UCAR. Peter Christensen here, coming to you from the CEO's desk. We're going to kind of continue on from last week's video about impermissible uses and maybe permissible uses too. So who gives the permission? I think they all have the same root word. Who gives you the permission? Well, multiple entities can give you the permission or restriction. So number one first is the city, right? A city, or let's say county/county. They will have rules. They have setback rules. There might be easements on the recorded against the property, height restrictions, all kinds of stuff, right? And then zoning. So what you can and can't do in that zone. And so you have to be aware of a lot of those, of all those as an agent, and help because remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give both parties, but really our buyer, all the information we can so that they can make a decision that they believe is best for themselves, right? We don't want to make the decision for them. We want to give them all the information we can to help them make an informed decision. And so we need to know this information and be able to point things out to them that might be an issue. So, city, that's the first one. Well, cities are obviously government entities, and so they're regulated by laws, by the Constitution, by other entities that kind of crack down on what they can and can't do. So our legislature in Utah has reined in cities somewhat on, say, things like landscaping, exterior kind of cosmetic things. The state of Utah has decided, we don't really want cities telling people how they can and can't, decorate their landscaping, or to a certain extent. They still have some restrictions, or like what type of siding material they can use, stuff like that. That kind of said that's not the city's space to occupy. Then you have HOAs. Now, HOAs, they are so powerful. They can do a lot. And why? I think the best explanation is we really value the ability of two people to contract, like freedom of contract concepts here. That if you want to strike a deal, then it's not the government's business to interfere with the deal as long as it's not illegal that you are striking, even if it's a bad deal, good deal. Well, an HOA is kind of a deal amongst all the homeowners in an area. And so they agree to rules that oftentimes the city could not impose on people, on homeowners. But because somebody agreed to it, you may be the next buyer in who didn't agree to any of the rules, but if you're made aware of them, then you may be subject to them. And so you got to know what those HOA rules are. And the idea is, well, you can get on the board, you can talk to your neighbors, you guys can change these rules later, hopefully. But do look to see who controls the HOA. If it's a development being built, it may be the developer who still controls the HOA. So there are issues like that to look at. But look at HOA regulations. So they might have rental regulations. They might have cosmetic regulations. You can't have this fence material. I heard of one the other day that had paint colors for fences. Like you had to use one of two colors. And a neighbor had to go petition because the colors were so outdated that they went and petitioned to get a third color added. And the neighborhood was all abuzz about it and excited that there's a third color choice for fences. But because it's an agreement, a private agreement amongst the neighbors, they can do stuff like that. And then look at the CC&Rs. So those are recorded. Often they're part of the original development of the land, and they can have some crazy restrictions in them as well. So look at those and understand. But you got to make sure as an agent you're helping get all that information in front of the buyer and or seller so that they understand what they can and can't do. It's not as simple as just, hey, I bought this piece of property, this home, and now I can do whatever I want to it, right? That would be nice, but it doesn't work that way. So you have city restrictions, HOA, and CC&Rs. So make sure you're aware of those and you're looking at them and helping your buyer. Again, you don't have to make the decision for your buyer, but getting at least, you don't even have to interpret the information. So if there's something weird in the HOA documents, your job is to get that to them and point out, hey, these are, the rules for living here. And then if they might not be written well. And so your job isn't to say, oh, yeah, this means you can and can't do this, but they can hire an attorney to look over that if there are questions that don't make sense. But your job is to get all the information to them so that they can make the best decisions possible. Remember, this is not legal advice. This is legal information only. If you need specific legal advice, please contact your attorney. And thanks for tuning in.